Hello, welcome back to Crush'em TV, and thank you for tuning in. The U.S. Supreme Court announced Monday that it will hear the case of a suburban Denver baker who refused to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple on the grounds of his faith, and the latest religious freedom case to be considered at the highest level, at the Supreme Court level. Oral arguments probably won't be held until the fall, and the case is Masterpiece Cake Shop Limited versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. Of course, they had to get on it, right? I mean, they couldn't hire their own lawyer. But what they're going to do is the Supreme Court is going to be deciding if gay rights trump everybody else's right. Whose right wins out? What's more important? Their right to get married, or do they have a right to force you to violate your faith? The Supreme Court made the announcement Monday. Of course, it is a potential powder keg in the culture war. Should a Christian baker who opposes gay marriage on religious grounds be forced to participate in a gay wedding? Do gay rights trump everybody else's rights? I say no. They have a right to do what they want to do. They do not have a right to go in and tell this man that he has to violate his faith by baking them a wedding cake, in which is artistically participating in the marriage or in the celebration of it. The guy's name is Jack Phillips. That's the fellow that owns the Masterpiece Cake Shop in Colorado. And the issue they're going to be addressing is, can the government coerce a person to create artistic expression that communicates a message with which he fundamentally disagrees? There are a number of artists across the nation who are being coerced to violating their religious convictions, or having to choose between their right to create artistic expression and, that's consistent with their faith. That kind of government coercion is unconstitutional. In 2012, Phillips was approached by Charlie Craig and David Mullins. They were going to be married in Massachusetts. They wanted the cake shop to bake a cake for the reception, which was to be held in Colorado whenever they got back, because Colorado's laws didn't change until 2014. Mr. Phillips declined, and he explained to them that he would make them any other cake. So now, he did not decline them service. He was not rude to them. He was not mean. He was not abusive. He did not decline to give them a cake. He offered to make them any other kind of cake for any other purpose. It was just that he could not make a wedding cake because artistically that is participating in the marriage or in the celebration of the marriage, which is a violation of his faith. And, that is what the Supreme Court is going, to be deciding. It didn't seem to matter that the gay couple was able to obtain their rainbow-themed cake for free from another nearby cake artist. Now, why isn't that good enough? Why can't they just simply do that? Go to another individual who has a different set of beliefs and, get their cake there. This Christian bakery owner wasn't being discriminatory to them. He wasn't refusing service. He wasn't being unkind. He wasn't being rude. In fact, he offered them cakes for any other purpose. So he was offering services to them, just not that one, because it was a violation of his own personal faith. And I understand the fellows, who were going to get married, why it's important to them and why they want to do what they want to do. But at the same time, when they want people to respect their rights, they need to respect the rights of other people. And that owner has a right to his own set of religious beliefs, and nobody has a right to tell you that you have to do something that violates your religious rights. I mean, if you allow that, what's next? I mean, next, do you have a gay couple purposely go find a Catholic or an Orthodox priest who they know very well, by the rules of their faith, they're not allowed to marry gay couples, and then turn around and sue them for not violating their faith? Is that, I mean, that's where this is leading. That's what the next step is. The next step is that you go find priests purposely that can't do that, aren't willing to do that because of what they believe, on a religious basis, and then turn around and sue them for not violating their own faith. That, I argue, is in itself discrimination, because then you're discriminating against the religion. You don't fight discrimination by discriminating, which is what these guys are doing. These guys, understandably are worried about being discriminated against, but in the process of worrying about that, they turn around and have discriminated against this man and the religious beliefs of the guy that owns the bakery. And that's not okay. I mean, he wasn't rude to him. He didn't refuse to do business with him. He didn't refuse to let them have a cake for any other reason. He just refused to violate his faith and to participate in a wedding. They could have taken a cake out of there for anything else. Now, the lower courts had ruled that Phillips discriminated against them, and of course totally ignored his faith and his rights, and whether them making that ruling was discriminating against his faith. And he was ordered to make cakes for homosexuals in the future, and to file reports for 2 years to show that he was abiding by the anti-discrimination law. And then he was ordered to re-educate his staff on discrimination. And what the guy ended up having to do was just cut out wedding cakes altogether, and it cost him 40% of his business. So in order to not violate his faith, he made the choice that he was just not going to do wedding cakes at all for anybody, so that nobody could pull this BS on him in the future. And it cost him a 40% drop in income. Does that sound okay? No, it's not. So he could not operate his business in a way that was compliant with his religion and his faith, all because somebody else wanted to walk into the door and tell him that they wanted him to do something that violated his religious beliefs. What if that guy had been Islamic? And you walk in and you tell him you want him to make you a pork pie. And the guy owned a bakery, and that was the kind of thing that he did. What do you think the court would have said about that? Do you think the court would have told the Islamic guy that he had to make a pork pie? I don't think so. And I would not support that either. Although I want a pork pie, I don't support making, somebody like an Islamic guy do that, because it violates his beliefs. Even if I don't agree with those beliefs, he should not be made to violate that. I can go down the road to a Christian business or take, the business to somebody else who doesn't have that particular issue and get the service that I want from them. And I can still continue to go to the Islamic bakery for everything else under the sun that he makes that I want. So that there is no reason to utilize one person's rights to violate another. And I hope that people in the LGBT community can come around to seeing that point of view instead of trying to force the whole world to, violate what they believe just to get what they want. Because that in itself is discriminatory against other people. And that, as of yet, has not been recognized by the court. And, they have a right to do what they want and live their lives. What they do not have a right to do is to force somebody else to violate their beliefs to satisfy their way of life. So please donate to the Patreon, hit like and subscribe, share the story with your friends, and hopefully in the fall, when this man goes to court, hopefully he wins. I know it's caused him a lot of grief and suffering. And, honestly, I hope this guy turns around and sues the state for that ruling. And I hope he sues them for the 40% loss in the income to his business. And I hope he wins. Because he should. They were wrong, and they shouldn't have done that. Those guys do not have a right to tell this guy that he's got to break his religion and his faith just to make them happy. That's wrong. Have a great day. Take care.